And welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Post game, November 18th, Boston loses 5-1 at home to the Columbus Blue Jackets. A team, my friend being Andrew Raycroft. The Columbus Blue Jackets got throttled by the Montreal Canadiens in their previous game, only to come back and to bring it to the Boston Bruins and again take it 5-1. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is brought to you by our lead sponsor by Fazenda. Fazenda Coffee Roasters out of Dedham is just a fantastic company. They help make this pod possible. We can't tell them thank you enough for their tremendous support. And don't forget that fazendacoffee.com/morning brew is where you can go check out the Morning Brew hats, the Morning Brew blend, the travelers, but you can also go to fazendacoffee.com/wholesale if you want, or just .com and check out all the different blends that they have there. You can order the Morning Brew bundle if you want, and you can even, if you don't want the dark roast Morning Brew blend, you can switch it out and add some different roast to it. They've got you covered no matter what you're looking for. So whether you're in retail, wholesale, they've got you covered. Check out Fazenda Coffee, Fazenda, fazendacoffee.com. Razor, you're doing the Altcast tonight. All right. I don't know if that would be a better option than sitting at the arena doing the game. My guess is it would. Maybe that's just me being a tad jealous that you got to sit on the couch and banter with the guys while I sat ringside and watched. I mean, this is. I've said this a couple of times. We're hitting some different lows here, buddy. This is one of the weakest teams in the league that you're playing in, the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yes, you had chances on the goaltender Merzlikins, and he made some stellar saves, but that to me wasn't the story of the game. The story was the Bruins' blunders, especially defensively, and the two shorthanded goals against. So how did you take this one sitting on the couch with Bergeron, Tuukka, and even a guest appearance by the Z-Man, by Zdeno Chara?
Yeah, Big Z in the house. Daniel Marmer.
Yes.
We gotta keep her in the mix. Because she was the best of all of us by far, without stating. Yeah, no, that's a bad one. That's a bad one tonight. And unfortunately was the most offensive they've been in 4 or 5 games too. The first time they actually made a goalie make saves for 3 or 4 games. So,
and by the way, Merzlikins has been incredibly inconsistent this year.
He just is. And that's what he is.
That you're right. He's kind of an acrobatic goaltender. I felt watching him.
He has poor save selection, but that's not for now. Yeah, that one hurts. That's the one that happens when things are really shitty and you don't feel good about yourselves and you just take your eye off the ball enough and you know it's one of those it has to get worse before it gets better. That was tonight. It really was, because
this is the low, right? Or
the end of the day,
is this the low or is this not the low? Like, are we?
Well, you hope it's the low. You hope you hope Dallas was the low. You hope Carolina was the low.
You can justify quotes, right? Quotations. You can justify air quotes. Losing to Carolina and Dallas, considered higher end teams in this league. Again, Columbus, with no disrespect, this is factual.
Yeah, see, it's the NHL, right? Like, that's the thing we're talking. Like, they had the Bruins should have been up 3-0, but things are going bad for them. Like, that breakaway, like, you could do that 100 million times. That'll never go in, that first goal. Never, like 100 million times.
So let's explain that goal. Let's do it. You know, it's 5 minutes into the first period, basically. Voronkov ends up getting a power play after as Carlo from the right point. I don't know if he whiffed on. I guess he kind of did, and the puck didn't get deep into the zone. And then they go back down the ice. Columbus does quickly, and the Bruins can't close on him. Voronkov is going to end up getting this. It's not a full-fledged breakaway, but he gets it, and he goes to his backhand, and then Carlo falls down and basically knocks the puck into the net behind Swayman. It's like a not a calamity of errors, but it's a situation that you're like, are you kidding me? But I also felt, from my vantage point, that the Bruins kind of like, they didn't gap well. Boy, oh boy, Razor, their gaps suck right now, bud. the neutral zone, and the gap ups are not good. But anyways, Voronkov gets credit for the goal. Monahan on the assist, he put it up to him. Nice pass, but the puck goes in off of Carlo into the net, and Swayman, doesn't have a chance to make the save.
Yeah, no, and then you're like, oh boy, that was the last thing you wanted to happen at the start of that game, because you thought you were, again, it's Columbus, we're going to score goals, and we're going to get right tonight, and that happens, and it's like, oh, it's just, we had good chances, we had a great first shift, we whiffing on pucks again. Like, the whiffing on pucks is wild.
Isn't it?
So again, this is like individual things. These are individual things that are happening, and it happened again tonight. And goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, just a really bad night. I feel bad for everyone that went to the Garden. I feel bad for that one night, the Monday night that works in your schedule and you get to go, and that sucks, because it was just bad. And even though they had a lot of chances, that's just where they're at right now. They're not in a place to really dominate or win or make it easy on themselves. They're in a tough place.
And I know that they're saying they're all the right things. They're going to work hard to get out.
I thought the effort was good too, by the way. Like, there's bad defensive lapses, and they're doing a bad job with gap, etc. But they're working. They're not mailing it in. I don't think so. Anyways, I thought they worked really hard. I thought they tried to grind through it in their defense on that.
I would agree with that for the most part. There were times I felt that, again, you could see the body language where, or they were working. Maybe they're just not in certain ways quick enough, fast enough. I'd like to think they're strong enough, but I watched a couple of times players Razor lose some battles, and you're like, that's not mailing it in. Maybe it's just not being enough of something. Maybe. And when you watch a team struggle like this, they start getting in their own heads.
Oh yeah,
you know it.
Yeah.
And you don't want these high-level athletes thinking. You have to think at this level, but you need them reacting. You need them playing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt for early on in the game they were playing. They were, to your point about the shots and the chances. And by the way, they did not make Elvis Merzlikins look good. He made good saves. He did.
No, he was good.
He had 11 shots on the first period. They were stuck on like 6 or 7, and then they got a flurry of them later as well. But I want to go to the more than anything, the second goal, the Olivier goal, and the shorthanded goals. Those are just backbreakers, man. Those are to me, those are unacceptable. But in the sense of, Matthew Olivier, who had already fought Jeffrey Viel, and we can touch on Viel getting called up, and the kid did. He's a kid because he's 27, but he did his job, man. He did. He did what it was required of him. But Olivier comes in, and next thing you know, he's slaloming through the Bruins like it's almost nothing, right? And he beats Coyle can't get there, and he beats then Swayman going to the back end. You look at that goal and you're like, that's too easy of a shorthanded goal. Am I missing something or no? Am I?
No, it was easy. It was easy. It was. There's the guys that came out of play. They didn't get to the net. They didn't close. They thought that someone else was going to do the job, right? That someone else will get it, and then I'll get the puck and I'll go the other way. And then Swayman, let him get to the middle of the ice and opened him up, and that shouldn't happen either.
No, we're going to talk Swayman afterwards. The game, he took some questions, and he, he says the right things, but he said it. He's going to work through it. He has to, and it's not where it needs to be. I think that's obvious now. So it's 2-0, 10:39 into the game. The Olivier shorthanded goal, his 6th of the season. Van Riemsdyk, though, scores a goal late in the period. Nice to see. I ran into JVR last night. Awesome guy. Signed late, September, playing in there, and he's been in and out of the lineup. I think he's just happy to get one more crack at things, and it's his 3rd of the season. It goes off of his body. I don't know. The Werenski shot may have been going wide for all I know. It probably
Oh,
was. It was
yeah,
like,
yeah. It was going to like the hash mark wide. Like,
yeah,
there's
it's his
12
hip,
guys in
right?
the Bruins that would do anything for one of those right now. Like that again. That sucks. That
Mhm.
sucks
That time
because
of the game.
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And again, don't get me wrong. Like I'm sitting with two guys that, and Z was in there at that point as well. Like you can back into that goal, and like they, 37 said, he's like, all right, you're 2-0. You at least got to tighten up here. Like, don't get stretched out. They
Mhm.
get stretched out
They got stretched.
once. The D gets stretched out. Then they get stretched out in their zone. Two guys get beat with one pass. Then they get stretched back. Like, those guys saw it coming before that. And then it's like, oh my God, that actually did happen. And another one goes off a leg. So again, all of this stuff is connected, but again, the Bruins aren't making their luck on that.
No, they're not. They're not earning it. They're just flat out not. They're just not earning it. 3-0 after the first period, and Coyle scores a goal on the power play, 14:30 mark of the second period. The second unit ends up getting out there. Although Brazo had actually started with the first unit. It was a little bit of a mishmash unit, but Coyle gets his fourth shot over the pad after the pass came from behind the net from Brazo to Coyle. It's a pretty good play in general. They get it's 3-1. I got to be honest with you. The Garden was quiet. I don't know if you could feel that watching back at the studio, but they did come alive. They were rooting them on. I give them credit there. But then the Bruins with other power play chances, and I mean, Razor. I'm almost at a loss for words here, and in the sense of the power play, the penalty kill, but the power play really failed them. I mean, it's just the first unit in particular, the holding of the puck, the caution with it, and then the indecisiveness, and then the predictability eventually when they move it over. I don't know. I don't remember. I know Pastrnak didn't have a shot on goal for 2 periods. I didn't look at the end of the game. I can't remember. I was kind of running around doing stuff. But it's I guess I'm saying the same thing over and over. To me, it's not acceptable in that regard. I mean, has to get better. I've asked you the same thing over and over, though. How does it get better? I think you're going to tell me they just got to work harder, and I don't know. I don't know if that's going to do it.
Well,
Do
I
you?
asked 37 that. And I asked Zdeno that though in the second because it was a problem. And so what would I asked, like, do you throw the fourth line? No, of course you don't disrespect everybody. They haven't practiced it. You're just wasting time if you do that. You can't do that. You could change one piece. You could put 2D out there instead of having only 1D. You could put the different net front guy. But the reality is those guys are the ones that are responsible for it. They're the ones that practice it all the time. And those are the ones that need to figure it out. And so we covered all of that within and the entire game because it felt like, oh, this is a big power play. We said it 19 times for how many power plays there were, right? And
Bruins end up, by the way, 1 for 6 on the power play.
And they were -1.
Right.
They were -1. So
I was actually happy, Razor, at the beginning of beginning of the third, beginning at 6-7 minutes in, when they put the second unit out first, out of a TV timeout, like they did. And I was like, okay, they earned it. Now they scored the goal. It was a simpler power play. Their entry was better. Yes, it's a shorter sample size, but I felt, screw it, they earned it, right? And so did the coaching staff. Montgomery puts him out there, and then lo and behold, Lower I can't get the puck deep, and then
that's why they're
going to 2-on-1.
and that's to the point of the guys who've been on power plays for 20 years. It's like, we get it, we suck, but you know what? We're still a better option than the other one. And
the opponents
that's
are
why
attacking the Bruins so aggressively on the PK.
Yeah,
all you got to do is look at the vid.
They're the worst in the league. It's easy to attack. Like that's been the Bruins' MO. That goes to like pittiness and like that. No, it's it's a man eat man league, and the blood in the water, it's smelled violently, and
Mhm.
that's what the power play's up against right now. They're getting like it's really hard. It's much harder because they get no space because they have no respect.
No, they
And
have no like you're right. And teams know that they're not shoot first guys from the point, and so they're
there's no
attacking them for the pass.
They're just, we're
They-
gonna take David away and we're gonna chase every. They had three guys in the corner. Like Bergie was like, "Oh my god, they have three guys in the corner. What is Columbus doing?" And the Bruins got a pretty good chance out of it, but
Mhm.
that just goes to show, like, we're going for this. Like, we're fine. Don't worry about it, PK. We're just gonna go.
Right. We're going to make them show us or prove us wrong.
Yeah.
That's what now the Bruins did that one time. I didn't think that the Columbus penalty kill was great there. They didn't rotate well, and the Bruins did a nice job.
No, but it
And
wasn't to your point, it wasn't the number one unit that did it. Like if
right,
David, if the one unit makes that play and it's David that scores, then everybody backs off. Then they're
right.
like, "Oh, okay, now we're scared." But it's different. It's just different.
You don't really have a choice though, right? Between now you know with Hampus out,
Mm.
weeks plural coming up weeks, and that could be 6 weeks for all we 8 weeks. We don't know. You really have no choice, but you got to stick with McAvoy and or Lowry, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
you can't go 5-4. There's no Krejci. There's no, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's what it is.
and Pasternak, could you put him? Maybe you move him over to his strong side. They don't. I don't know. Maybe he's done that in the past. It feels almost fruitless right now. But Razor, you have to do something. You have to do something different. You have to. Not you personally. The Bruins have to do something different on their power play. They have to have a new look. They can't go to the one guy up top and it's McAvoy looking to move it over to Pasternak for a one-timer. It's not working. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It doesn't take a guy who's stumbling over his words like I am right now to figure it out. Danforth scored that shorthanded goal, Razor, at 7:19. It was 4-1, and then Chinnikov scores another goal at the 14:10 mark. 5-1 is the final in the game. Bruins had 29 shots, as did the Columbus Blue Jackets. Mason Lowry in the game, as we look at some numbers, bud, -4 in the game. Georgi Merkulov, -3. Justin Brazeau, -3. He did have an assist. Pasternak ended up with no shots on net. He had 3 attempts. Fourth one was missed. I will give again Columbus. I'm going to say I'll give them credit. 21 blocks in the game. They did a good job of interior blockage. They did. Merzlikins made some unbelievable saves, but Columbus was much more willing. What's the first thing that has to change, Razor, strategically? Because we're going to talk about players. We'll touch on players and coaching coming up a little bit. It has to be their defensive structure. It's striking how different it is. So this is a personnel thing, right? Because the system's not that different. I mean, if it is, it's tweakage. That's all it is. This has to be a personnel thing with regard to defensive, because how many times are teams getting to mid-ice between the dots, and especially within 10 feet? It's just too much.
Yeah, the neutral zone's a mess too. And then that's part of that defensive structure. Like it's the layers aren't there that we're so used to saying layers, right?
Yeah.
Like layers, and there's no layers now. Now it's one pass beats 3 guys or 2 guys or 1 guy, and opens things up.
Is this a time, and I'm not being flippant here, I'm being serious, because I just thought about this, because you're sitting with your good buddy Patrice. Is this a time where you reach out to him and you say, hey, what do you see? Maybe they have already. Maybe that's what the
Well,
chuckle is.
no, I'm laughing because maybe we have mentioned that tonight jokingly, and
Did you on the air?
No, we would never do that to him. We would never, and I probably shouldn't do this now. So, but no, you know.
But
But no,
he's literally in your backyard.
No, he knows it's not his thing. Like, so let's just say it's not his thing
Okay.
at this
All right.
point. But
But if they reached out,
he definitely, again, it's a layer thing. It's a neutral zone thing from some of our opinions. Let's,
yeah, I get it.
and that it's making the defensive zone so much harder because you're just so much further away from allowing those layers to come into place.
I
And
feel like the D are missing a lot of closures in the neutral zone. They get caught stepping up to the outside, or they're waiting almost,
well,
and then they're
yeah,
again. I
like
go back to their gaps.
again, that first goal, like why is low rise so far away? Like, how he doesn't recognize. Like, I know Carlo whiffs on it, but as soon as Carlo whiffs on it, you got to get to the middle of the
You got
ice.
to come middle ice, right? The D, the weak. So, folks, what Razor's
And there's
talking
no
about.
way, that the centerman or whoever that forward was going to pick that guy up. And for some reason, low rise worried about the guy way over on the left wing.
Well, but remember, he did a very similar thing the other night in Dallas that led to the penalty
Yes,
shot, which really wasn't a penalty shot, but
but it was
he
the
did.
same
It was a
setup,
similar.
and it
So
would
he
have been a
gets
penalty shot tonight, I think.
absolutely no.
Yes,
I said to myself, "That's a penalty
that's a
shot.
penalty
Like
shot.
that's a penalty
We said the
shot,
same thing. That's a penalty shot.
right? That's a freaking penalty shot right there." And I'm like, okay,
And
but
it's the
he
same
gets
idea.
puck watching. I think he gets puck watching to the
That, or he
outside.
gets watching the guy out in the wing that's like not a threat in any way. Like, again, the Bruins, they've been, guys have made Hall of Fame careers of getting to the middle of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And goalies have won Vezinas by guys getting to the middle of the ice.
So
There's a lot, right? Like
all right, I'm going to do our sponsors here, but then
Yep.
I'm going to ask you about Swayman. Okay, I'm giving you a
Yep.
rundown.
Yep.
I mean, we can go over some other players. Brad was working his ass off in this game.
He worked so hard, man.
He worked so
He
hard.
was trying to lead as best he could.
Absolutely. I didn't notice some other players personally. I didn't notice Zaka much. I didn't notice Lindholm much. I know he came out yesterday and talked about it. He has to be better. Understatement.
Yeah.
Understatement.
Yep.
Who else? I'm looking at this. Pasta, like 18 minutes, no shots on goal. It's not his gig.
No.
So I'm going to ask you about Swayman. So we're going to ask you about we're going to discuss personnel and coaching. Okay?
Yep.
We're going to go there. All right. But first we're going to talk about the people that make this show possible. Along with Fazenda Coffee, Graciano Construction does just that for us. So if you're sitting, listening, or watching us, and you live in Greater Metro West and downtown Boston, I mean, they'll do a wide variety of places. They will. So don't wait, or don't say, well, they might not service my area. Doug Graciano and his staff will help you refresh and revitalize your space. And if you're in the Massachusetts area, just give them a call or send them an email. The phone number is 508-330-7589. Or go to gracianoconstruction.com, Gracino, gracianoconstruction.com. Doug and his great crews, they somehow make doing home projects less stressful and somewhat actually enjoyable. He'll talk you through things. He'll come up with great little tweaks here and there. He'll make things that happen that you didn't think about. That's what it's all about. If you're going to be doing some home construction, and they do a lot of different type of things, definitely consider Graciano Construction. Again, 508-330-7589 or gracianoconstruction.com. So that's if you're building or refreshing your house. How about looking to sell your house, buy one, or lease one? Well, that's about RTN Realty. If you're looking to do that in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, go to RTN Realty for all your real estate needs. Led by Chris Gentile and his staff of 16 agents, Razor. These people and his support staff, they have you covered for whatever you're looking to do. Chris has over 22 years experience in the real estate world in this market, over 2,500 transactions. Reach out to Chris at cgentile@rtnrealty.com or call him directly at 617-835-0845 for a no pressure consultation. And consultation. I'm not speaking well right now. I'm tired. Hey, the real estate market is ever changing. Go with somebody you can trust, that you know, and also is a great hockey guy. Go to Graciano Construction. And if you want to just have some fun, go to Apex Razor. What about that? What do you think about going to Apex? Wouldn't that be
Well,
nice?
I think the weather's getting colder. I
Uh-huh.
think there's less activities outside. I think you have holiday parties coming up in a big way. That's the place to go is Apex.
It
That's
is.
what you do. You go to Apex, whether it's the office party and you cruise around on go-karts, whether it's the team hockey party where you put the holidays together and you go up there and let the kids run around like wild people and tear the place apart.
Well, you have a beverage at the
Then
bar.
you sit in the bar and ignore that you have kids. That's
Yes.
what you do. You go to Apex for that. Of course, tournaments, etc. It's awesome. It's crazy. The kids love it more than anything. They ask me to go there all the time. Every time I go to Marlboro, they want me to take them to Apex and go to the go-karts. And it's a great setup. It's in Marlboro. It's easy and just a perfect place for families.
100,000 square feet of pure fun. ApexEntertainment.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Again, Razor and I and RC. Appreciate them greatly. All right, Jeremy Swayman. Hasn't looked very good lately. And is this a he was asked, is this a not being in training camp thing or what is it? And he didn't really, he addressed it. He said it really wasn't more or less a training camp thing. It was, wanting to be with the guys more, needing to be better and everything. I mean, there have been reports, Elliot Friedman and his 32 Thoughts, about stuff lingering from the Swayman situation. Let's talk about him from a hockey analyst eyes.
Yeah.
Not where are the deficiencies in his game right now? In your
So
eyes?
it has nothing to do with training camp.
Okay. Because he's played enough, he said. Like he's had enough time.
Yeah. We're way past that. And let's just address like Jared Friedman's, like the hanging around. That only happens because they're not winning, right? Let's call all of this comes up because things aren't good. And that's what happens. That's what happens when you're not winning.
That's what happens when you're not winning.
This is just how the league works. When things aren't, you
shit
find
happens.
all the reasons.
Yeah.
Exactly. Shit happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And this is the shit. This was automatic. This was automatically going to happen. If they were 500 at this point. If you told me they were 500 on November 20th, I would say, well, they're going to blame Jeremy Swayman's holdout for that. That's how it works. And that's what Jeremy did with this holdout. That's the lose-lose situation he was in. Hockey-wise, so that's out of the way. Hockey-wise, we talked about it, and this is the exact scenario that is difficult in the National Hockey League when you're a starting goalie, because you get in a shitty rut and you can't get out of it on your own. And he's had the benefit of having Linus Ullmark. And he's had the benefit of having a guy that gets a shutout after he gave up 3 weeks ago. He gave up 4 goals, a shutout. Okay, that puts everybody back on track. Then he goes in and has his game. Then they go back and forth. The hardest part of the National Hockey League is when you don't really feel good and you have to go back in the next night. And Jonas Korpisalo played great on Saturday afternoon, but Jeremy Swayman was going into this game no matter what. And he gave up 7 against Dallas. And now it compounds. And now he's got a couple of days, and now he's got to deal with it again. And the team's not feeling really good. It's not as well oiled as it has been in his entire career. So this is kind of like a perfect storm of contract stuff. It's first time playing a bunch of games in this league consistently or consecutively, I should say. And then you have a team that's not playing good in front of you. So he hasn't seen NHL action the way he's seeing it right now.
Do they just have to live with it, or do they start saying maybe it's time to play Korpisalo a bit more? Or is this too early in the season to do that and derail, I guess, potential recovery for Swayman?
No, he's your guy. He's your guy. It's kind of like the power play. Same idea. You can't change out the entire power play. You can't. You can. I mean, Korpisalo. Listen, if Korpisalo, he's going to play next week. He's going to play one of those 2 games back to back for sure, if not earlier.
I think he plays. If Swayman ends up starting on Thursday, they have 2 days off. Then they play Utah at home. I think Korpisalo goes on the road and plays Detroit, and then they split the back-to-backs as well before Thanksgiving.
So you could also use him in a run here. Like if it goes on a run, again, these are hypotheticals, but you're at the point where Jeremy could take 4 days off and let Korpisalo go because he is playing better. I mean, it's just the way the puck's bouncing and the way the puck's flying around. It's going Jonas's way right now. But that's not it's not a competition. It's not an option. It's not like someone can run with it. This is Jeremy Swayman's team for 10 years. So this is what happens when you're starting goalie. That's all. This is like it's different. It's just different. It's a lot harder and there's a lot of responsibility. And this is what he's going to have to work through and deal with. And I'm sure he will. It's just not easy tonight, I'm sure. Just putting your head down tonight.
Not easy at all.
It's not like there's not like technical stuff. This is a goalie thing. This is a National Hockey League goalie thing. So I think you asked that, like, is there something?
So it's not physical, it's mental.
No, it's just oh boy, wow, okay, and nothing good in front of him's happening either.
I have no problem giving him a couple of those extra days right now. I do. I just think, but now look, I know it's still very early in this. It's not that early anymore. It's somewhat early. I think this would be a good time for a reset. I do. Give him that chance. I mean, I know he's going to want to play. I know he's going to want to play every game. I get that. But you've got to run here where you can kind of split, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You got a game Friday and Sunday, then you got a shitload of games. So I think you got to play, especially right now. I think this is where you have to lean on Korpisalo and say, hey, we need you for a week every other game. Nothing wrong with it. The gloves say that. I mean, that's me not being a goalie, but the eye test for me, looking at it, would say, to your point, one of those 4 days rest is not the right word. Reset, I think, would be very beneficial for him. So,
yeah, it's but he's getting paid a lot of money now. And,
I understand,
and it's up to him to get it sooner than later. And maybe again, the Bruins are the Bruins are pretty regimented in what they've done with their goalie schedules the last few years. And I mean, Tukes dealt with this, like he could deal with it. He figured it out as his career got longer, and they just did a schedule, and that worked for everybody. This could be a situation where, they have to flip the schedule that they've had in place because they have a guy who's a starter for the first time, and they have a veteran guy who's pretty good. And maybe the schedule changes on goalie Bob a little bit more right now. That is something we'll see. In most situations, Swayman's got to go again Thursday, and he's got to figure it out.
Be interesting to see what they end up doing. Bruins had a scheduled day off on Tuesday. They are not practicing. They're back at it Wednesday and then have the game Thursday.
Yeah, and you have to do that, by the way, folks. Like there's no ways around it.
It's a CBA day off.
You have a community day on Wednesday. That would have been, if you want to say that you can't say that's a day off. That community day on Wednesday has been locked in place for months, and you have to do that.
Right.
So,
and they would rather give them the day off tomorrow.
With 2 days off.
Yeah, you have to, you have to do it. The CBA just says,
that's right.
All right. Coaching. This is, so much has been talked about it now. So much. And again, so much out there. I do think the guys worked hard, but do you see the emotion necessary? And I know you can't play emotionally at a level 10 all season, in regular season. But I do think it's time for a level 10. I just do for this team right now to get out of this, Razor. With regard, to coaching, is this more a personnel thing now? Is this a personnel and coaching, or is this a full coaching thing in your eyes with the systems and stuff with the players? I mean, I think it's kind of a combination, Razor. I do. But the players aren't executing, but also what are we, are we seeing enough of the right game plan, et cetera, for this team?
Yeah, I mean, the I listen, there's enough players underachieving, first and foremost. I think the fact that guys can't score on great opportunities that they have, the defensive lapses that they have, the shorthanded goals they gave up tonight, like that's we've kind of already mentioned all that.
Yeah.
Those are on the players. But of course, this is a game that at some point it falls on the coach way before everybody else. It's happened in many places. It's a position. The coach is a position that can change momentum the easiest in a season by changing it. Different voice.
Doesn't something have to happen? And I don't mean that specifically. I'm talking. I mean, whether I know it's easy to sit here and say you can't it's easy to manufacture a big trade. It's not. But you've called up a few players, right? You've done that. So you don't have that anymore. It doesn't something have to happen soon, Razor, to say, like, we're gonna switch the direction of this ship and it's gonna be all right. And again, I'm not saying it's a player, it's a trade, it's a coach. I'm saying, doesn't something though have to happen for management? Don't you think? Or
Yeah,
is it just so hard to do so many different things?
That's the only thing that I'll push back on a little bit, is that it's much easier said than done. I'm only I don't know. I don't know, like what's better on the other side, and and maybe change for the sake of change is the right thing in this situation, whether it's players, whether it's trades, whether it's coaches. But
Right.
that's not always the case, and I think if you are going to do that, you have to be very um thoughtful in that decision, and I don't think you do it on whims with a lot of hockey games left, because there's a big difference. It's okay. So just a random. Let me just go off on this just a little bit, because I thought about this, and in 03-04, when I won Rookie of the Year, I went back and I remember how really miserable my life was in December. I thought I thought I was going to get sent down, and hopefully Morning Brew people appreciate this random story 40 minutes in. We were 500 on January 7th. We were 500 in the NHL on January 7th, 15, 15, and 10. Of course, we didn't have shootouts back then. We had ties. And we went into we went into Detroit, got us home earlier. We went into Detroit, and I remember being put, we couldn't leave the hotel room. We had to eat in the room. We had to eat in the conference room. We couldn't go out. We couldn't have fun. We couldn't play cards on the road. The whole thing. It was a disaster. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going into Joe Louis tomorrow night. And if we lose this game, I might go to the minors, because that's what you did. You changed things to change things at that time.
Yeah.
We ended up getting 104 points that year. We ended up going on a run 13-3 in the middle of January and going. So my point to all of this is, it can feel really bad early in the season, and it can flip. Like, it's not like they're 2-20. And that's where you're in a gray area right now of like doing too much to do it and really blowing the entire season and winning like 10 games. That's not good either. So that's my only.
That's your caution. But that's
my caution, is doing something that really just to do it and it doesn't work.
I would agree. You don't do it just to do it. You do it though if you feel in your gut that something is not right, and a significant change. again, whether it's one person, three people, player, coaches, whatever that may be, that's when you have to do it. If you're managing if you just say this ain't working and because of this, and this, then you have to do it. But I don't know. It's just funny. Listen, maybe you had this same feeling. We haven't felt this way here in Boston for a while with this team. And that exacerbates this more.
Correct.
However, the world has changed in the NHL than when you it's a great story. I'm not patronizing. I'm being honest.
No, I know you're not. You never would.
The world has changed hockey-wise, meaning the way that things are now. Yeah. I think of Edmonton last year. They made a change. Now they were 2-9-1 or whatever they were. Yeah. To your point, it's different. But I don't know. I said this last show too. Something's going to have to happen. They did the call-ups. Okay.
This is a bad loss. I've been Mr. Positive. This is a bad one tonight.
This is bad.
This is a bad one.
This doesn't feel good at all.
This is the worst one. It's at home. That always makes a difference. It's bad.
So this could precipitate something. We'll have to wait and see. But it could, being at home and to the type of team that you lost to. Those factors play a big role in it. We mentioned real quick, Jaffe Razor coming up, his first game in the NHL since 2022-23. Good for call him a kid. He's 27. He gets in a fight. He got a penalty. He did his job. Didn't play a ton, but he tried. He absolutely tried. I don't know who the next guy to be called up is. I haven't seen, Lysell play enough. I can't tell you that's the right thing. I heard Mark McLaughlin has scored in, I think it's 5 consecutive games. I mean, maybe you call up something like that. I don't know. I mean, does that move the needle again? I'm not sure. Could you? I mean, the rumors are as well that the Bruins are out there looking at trades that they're calling. Well, how can you not be calling people right now to see who's available? Right? You have to be. Mm-hmm. So again, I think something has to be addressed, and whatever that is, it just has to be. But this is a tough one to watch. It was so. Did they feed you at least in the studio or no? Did they?
No, we went to Buffs after.
We went to Buffs after. Mm-hmm. Holy shit! You had time to go to Buffs after.
By the time you got home, yes. And I was checking. I had my phone on the table the whole time. I'm waiting for Jaffe's call. Okay. And we got out of there instantly.
I'm even more jealous now.
Yeah, exactly.
You did that. Okay, yeah. Well, good. That's a good call.
I left it to the end for you.
If you're gonna go, go to Buffs, get some wings. All right. Anything else that we need to touch on? I know. Okay. Next Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is going to be Thursday against the Utah Hockey Club. If you haven't seen them yet, that's because they've never been to TD Garden. This is the first time Utah has been here. I like the sweaters. I do. I like the colors and sweaters. So we'll take a look at those. And then Razor and I will be off for a couple of days after that. All right. Boston Bruins lose 5-1 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're struggling right now. They got to figure it out. And I mean, they got to figure this thing out. Hopefully hell sooner than later before things are too late. I'm going to tell you to go enjoy your coffee, but this is one of those shows we're going to end it with. Add something to that coffee because I think you may need it. Thanks for listening, folks.